NXT Podcast, your home for weekly NXT reviews and insight.
The beautiful part of NXT is that when one dream ends, another dream begins.
Find all of your NXT news, recaps, and analysis right here. So with that being said, we only have one question for you.
Are you ready?
We thought so. Let's get the show started right now.
What's going on, guys? It is Chris. We are back for another NXT review, and let me tell you something. Tonight was an actually good show. The last 2 weeks, I would say, have been decent shows. Some real lackluster performances recently. You know, prior to NXT Portland, TakeOver Portland, it was weak. Okay, I really wouldn't say that we had some good episodes, some good shows. But the last couple weeks have been good. They put together a little bit more. They've shown a little bit of attitude from guys that we need to see attitude. Tonight, you had an amazing promo from Johnny Gargano. What I thought was actually the beginning of a brilliant heel character. Not that turning on Ciampa wasn't good and you know, sneak attack, whatever you want to call it, which Mauro Ranallo found out tonight that wasn't a good thing to say. I will say that it was a great promo. Definitely one thing to watch. I will say that promo alone, if you're going to catch one thing off this show, that is what you need to see. But there were some other good things. Just want to say first, please follow me. Chat, comment, message, I don't care, on Twitter at the CO Place to Go. The CO Place to Go. You can also follow me on Twitch. I was planning on doing an Elimination Chamber live watch in reaction on Sunday night. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that live anymore, as I do not think I will be home on Sunday night. I'm not 100% sure yet, though. But guys, appreciate anybody who listening, following at the WWE Podcast on Twitter and any place that you listen to podcasts. All right, first we're going to talk about This Week in Wrestling. This Week in Wrestling, there were some interesting things that came out. I would say the vast majority of the stuff related to not WWE. First thing, I mean, the two big things that came out of Raw 2 nights ago were Drew McIntyre. He laid out Lesnar with 3 claymores. The one in the ring, the first one that he did, I'm going to be honest, I thought he took his head off. Drew McIntyre's claymores, in comparison to Sheamus's bro kick, absolutely powerful looking. And I think it's just how big, strong, and fluid that he is. The next thing that stood out, and to me, you know, best heel going right now in the business, is Randy Orton. If he wasn't in this program, I would go with MJF as the lead heel. 100% I would go to MJF, but for sure Randy Orton with the RKOs, killing off Matt Hardy's character from WWE, who we'll talk about in a second. Obviously taking out Matt Hardy, taking out Edge first, and now taking out his wife, Beth Phoenix, with an RKO. His nuclear heat on this guy. Nuclear heat. Going to set up a huge match. And I'm going to, again, I've said this for the last 3-4 weeks. I am not going to be here to watch WrestleMania, do any of the WrestleMania analysis on anything, whether it's WWE or NXT. And I can do it. It's going to be a day to 2 days late, which is fine by me. I'm totally down doing it late. But WrestleMania is setting up right now to be a great show in terms of big names and feuds, and heated feuds. On SmackDown on this past Friday night, Cena came out saying he was done, kind of like one of those retirement-looking type things. He said no need for a spot at WrestleMania. And then, of course, The Fiend comes out to challenge him. I'm a big Fiend fan. I'm a fan of the character. Not a huge fan of the loss. But also thinking about it, maybe it wasn't the best time for him to be Universal Champion. And that character, I think, can be used for many different things other than being a champion. He came out and did the cheesy point to the WrestleMania sign. I'm going to face you there. Cena tipped the hat, blah, blah, blah. They're going to face off at WrestleMania. To me, it would have meant a lot more if it was going for the championship. Cena could have won and break the record. Maybe he is not interested in that, but I think that would have been a better position for it. Let's move on to news that does not relate to WWE. In AEW, great review on the WWE Podcast by a brand new reviewer / analyst, if you will, for the WWE Podcast. Please check it out. It's about AEW Revolution. Fantastic show. Another thing I took out of that, Cody Rhodes' tattoo, in my opinion, is absolutely terrible. Listen, I have 3 tattoos. I don't care where you put tattoos. You can put them on your neck, your face, like Post Malone, whatever you want to do. But Cody Rhodes, he's got the dream tattoo on his chest. There's got to be another place. Like, that's your logo, that's your design, that's your go-to, that's your gimmick, if you want to call it that. But on your face, like really on your, like, not your face, but your neck, like, on your head, it's above your shoulders. That is a prominent and very visible tattoo. I feel like that may not have been the best position for that tattoo. Again, that is just 100% my opinion. Good for him. It is, something that he wanted again. I'm happy he got it, but in my opinion, not the best place. Next, Matt Hardy being a free agent. So I'm probably like 15 episodes back on Being the Elite. Like they came out. Let's say they came out on a Tuesday. I watched it Tuesday afternoon. I just haven't caught up with it yet. Since AEW started, I haven't been as big into the Being the Elites. But at the end of the last Being the Elite, they got a phone call from an area code 910, I believe it is, which is in North Carolina. And basically, whoever Matt Jackson was talking to basically was saying, hey, come meet me. On the Free the Delete today, the new episode of the finale, or whatever you want to call it, Matt Hardy is seen there talking. An Escalade pulls up at the Hardy compound, and the Young Bucks come out, or as he would say, the Bucks of Youth come out. Now, does this fully point to him going to AEW? Maybe. And maybe he's just swerving everybody, and he's just tying up some loose ends with different people. And then there's going to be a huge reveal where he's going. I mean, I would love to see him in NXT again. That's me as an NXT reviewer. And as a Matt Hardy lover, like, the Hardy Boys are great. Jeff Hardy's stuck there. I hate that they're separate. I think the broken character can do so much. Jeff Hardy was on Backstage, which I heard had like less than 20,000 viewers. It was pretty weak. On a Tuesday night, I mean, there's nothing going on a Tuesday night on TV. I mean, there's some basketball, some hockey, but very few viewers. He said when he comes back, he's gonna be different. I would love to see the two of them, as the broken Matt and Brother Nero in NXT. Could you imagine the intensity and the attitude and things like that would come in to NXT? I wish the Revival was back there. I saw a thing today. It says a tag team is heading back to NXT from the main roster, like from the Raw or SmackDown, and I got excited. I was like, sweet, the Revival or somebody who's not being used properly. Author's a painter in a storyline right now with Seth Rollins, so clearly isn't them. And then being the Iconics, not exciting, doesn't do anything for me. I don't mind them as people, but as a tag team, they were okay. But a women's tag team, I don't feel there's no championship. There's no women's tag championship in NXT. I don't feel like a women's tag team is of importance in NXT. You have it in WWE. On who has it right now? Asuka and Kairi Sane, and you can, any division can battle for it, and that's fine. But specifically sending a team back who they were, they tag teamed a lot before, they did solo stuff, but I just feel like the women's division has a lot in it right now. I don't think that they need the Iconics or Billie Kay or Peyton Royce separately, or whatever, however you want to look at it. They don't need that. So to me, that was kind of a bummer. Next we have, I did a special thing. It's called Enough is Enough. It was a Super Showdown rant. It is available. It was released on, I want to say, Thursday afternoon after Super Showdown. Or no, I'm sorry. It was released on Sunday. I after watching Super Showdown on Thursday, I just had like a bad taste in my mouth, So I figured I would do this thing every once in a while, maybe once a month. a couple times a month. When something really annoys me, bothers me, I'm going to do something called Enough is Enough. I was listening, I had it on Spotify, and I was randomly listening to wrestling themes. And if you like wrestling and you say you don't listen to random themes every once in a while, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to everybody else. It's not good to lie. You can bend the truth. I heard on the radio today you can fluff the truth. I don't like the word fluff, but you can fluff the truth. But yeah, don't lie. So I was listening to that and I heard Enough is Enough, Owen Hart's theme. So I was just like, you know what? That's perfect. Enough is Enough is a great way to explain what I'm going to do, because I didn't want to make my own intro, and I got an NXT intro. I'm not going to play that for something that has nothing to do with it. So I'm scouring the internet, looking at different things. Who knows? Maybe when Matt Hardy decides where he's going to go, maybe I'm going to have another one. Who knows? But the Super Showdown rant is on there. It's called Enough is Enough. Please feel free to listen to that as well. Let me know what you think. We're going to jump into birthdays for today. There were 2 birthdays today. First one was Dalton Castle. Turns 34. He wrestles in Ring of Honor. He's a former heavyweight champ and a 6-man tag champ. He also wrestled for Shikara, earlier 2010, 2012-ish. I wrestled for a year in TNA. He was an amateur wrestler. He won a championship in Greco-Roman wrestling. And he actually won. He traveled for Team USA in the World Championship. So that was pretty cool. I didn't really know that about Dalton Castle until I looked it up. Him and the boys in Ring of Honor, to me, a little odd. Their whole gimmick is odd. But great wrestler. Great actual Greco-Roman wrestler as well. Next is Sarita. Real name Sarah Stock. She's a current trainer for WWE and NXT. Former 2-time tag champ in TNA. And she's wrestled all around the world from Mexico to Japan. She turns 41 today. Well, let's take a look at last week's highlights. To me, there was a little bit, nothing crazy, but there was a little bit of stuff that stood out, so we'll cover that first. So one of the big highlights of last week's episode was Charlotte Flair versus Bianca Belair. That match was okay, I guess. To me, it could have been done better. I think there was a lot of talk and attitude and things like that in relation to the two. I don't think the match really lived up to what it could have been. Obviously, Rhea Ripley got involved towards the end. But it did what it needed to do. Also, Austin Theory versus Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa, you knew, was going to win that based on kind of the character and the direction his character is going. Austin Theory, though, to me, continues to, show that he deserves to be in NXT. He deserves a shot on, I don't want to say every show because they got so many guys. But he deserves to be on TV. He deserves to get noticed, and he's a champion. He's a former champion in Evolve. Is he the current champion in Evolve? I'd have to look at that, but that was a good match. I thought that was the match of the night. Promo wise, you had Finn Balor talking, and Imperium came out and beat him up. I mean, pretty good, to be quite honest. That's going to set up Balor versus Walter. Will that be at the next TakeOver Tampa? Will it be at TakeOver UK? Not 100% sure. It's going to be one of those that I'm looking forward to. Completely different styles in that type of match. But pretty much everyone Walter faces is a completely different style because he's different. Also was announced last week that William Regal announced that starting this week tonight, a tournament was going to begin for the women. The 2 finalists will compete in a number 1 contenders ladder match at TakeOver Tampa. I think that's great. We did get 1 match tonight. It was the second or third match of the night. So we'll get into that here shortly. I know who I want to see in that. I don't know. I know Io Shirai is hurt, and I don't know if she's going to be healthy. But I would love to see Io Shirai as one of the 2 people in that. And then I would love to see Bianca Belair. I would love to see them compete against each other. I'd like to see Io Shirai get the win, just to see somebody different go after, Rhea Ripley. Do you think Charlotte Flair is going to win? I I don't see Charlotte Flair beating Rhea Ripley, and not because she can't. I just don't see the purpose of having Charlotte Flair have the NXT Women's Championship. I don't feel like there's a reason for her to have that. Maybe nostalgia purpose. But really, what's the reason? You push Rhea Ripley to the moon and then you give someone on SmackDown or Raw, whatever show she's on now, a shot at the belt? Come on. Seems like a waste of time. It's time to get into tonight. So tonight advertised 2 steel cage matches. One of those steel cage matches started at the beginning. And just like NXT every single week. Every single week it starts hot. Okay? So your first one was Dakota Kai versus Tegan Nox. This is a rivalry that extends all the way back to War Games. Best friends or whatever you want to call them. I thought it was, I thought they were good. Dakota Kai now has Raquel Gonzalez with her as kind of like a security blanket, let's say. Raquel Gonzalez, big girl, tall girl, I should say. I be politically correct these days. Obviously, Raquel Gonzalez comes into play in this match. She helps cause Tegan match to lose the match. Dakota Kai does get to escape. Dakota Kai gets the win. I'll be 100% honest with you, this was a 3.5 out of 5. It ran about 15 minutes. This, to me, was the match of the night. Which says a lot because I was unimpressed with previous matches with the two of them, especially the Portland one wasn't too bad, but prior to that, it was a little rough. It wasn't what you think it would be. Now, in big time matches, Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox are 1-1. Right now, in the feud itself, Dakota Kai is up 2-1. I thought, there was some creative cage spots. The thing with cages these days is it's obviously not like Hell in a Cell. You're never going to have your Austin Undertaker, HBK Undertaker, Mankind Undertaker. You're not going to have Hell in a Cell like that. I mean, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. You're not going to have stuff like that. You're just not. The day is different. It's not the same attitude. It's not the same everything, which is fine. But, for me, like an old school wrestling fan, who grew up, really praising the time before the Attitude Era and the Attitude Era, I feel like, you need a little bit more toughness. You need a little bit more. This match, to me, was creative enough, and, with the two girls in the ring, I think it was good. With Tegan Nox, I feel like, yes, she lost, but she didn't lose on her own. She wasn't pinned, or there was no true escape. Dakota Kai got help. This builds her up as even a bigger heel in this match. To me, there was a good amount of aggression. But, who knows what's going to happen? Is there going to be a match with Tegan Nox? See, what I personally think could happen is Tegan Nox is going to end up facing Raquel Gonzalez next. I think she's going to end up losing that due to Dakota Kai. But I think this match does not end this feud, especially with the way it ended. Had it been a clean escape, a clean victory in any sense, I think you might have seen it done if Tegan Nox won. But the fact that Dakota Kai won and not convincingly won needed help. I think this match this feud has a ways to go. Like I said, 3.5 out of 5 on that. I thought it was great. Both of these girls are definitely going to get a chance for the number 1 contendership match. I don't think either one should be in position to get that, but it is what it is on that. Next match you had was a number 1 contenders qualifying match, Chelsea Green versus Shotzi Blackheart. I'm going to say immediately I thought this match was terrible. I only gave it a half star out of 5, or a half point out of 5. I do let's see. I do think that Shotzi Blackheart has an opportunity to be really good, and I think Chelsea Green has an opportunity to be really good, but it didn't work out tonight. It wasn't good. Was it last week or the week before when Chelsea Green did a Unprettier, and I think she actually calls it the I'm Prettier, if I'm not mistaken. I heard that tonight. But she did an Unprettier, and I was really harsh on that because the Unprettier is a face first down into the mat. When she did it last week, or the week before, whenever it was, she had the back of the person's head hit the ground. And at first I'm like, well, maybe that's her spin on the move. But it wasn't. Because tonight she did the unprettier the way the unprettier is supposed to be done. She royally screwed that up last time. I'm assuming it did not go unnoticed backstage, but it kind of went unnoticed on TV and nobody talked about it. I brought it up and it's just like, if you're going to do a move and you're going to steal a move from somebody else, whatever the situation is, then do the move right. Why screw it up? She screwed it up at that time. This time she did not. Honestly, I mean, they're lucky, that, because if that, I would have given it a -5 out of 5. But I'll give it a half out of 5. I think Shotzi Blackheart losing this match doesn't kill her. She threw out Shayna Baszler, and I thought they were going to push her to the moon. But I don't think that, she needed the win. I think Chelsea Green is someone who deserved the win. Chelsea Green I thought looked fantastic tonight. I think her character needs, Robbie E., her manager, Robert Stone, I think is called it Robert Stone brand, whatever it is. To me, that doesn't work. I don't really know the reasoning behind that whole, presentation. But I think Chelsea Green looked great tonight. I think her getting a win is good. The fact of how the win went, I mean, the backstabber looked good, the missile drop kick looked good, Chelsea Green looked good, but it just didn't flow. It just felt off, and the match itself was bad. Chelsea Green does get the win. It couldn't have been more than 2 minutes, I don't think. But like I said, wasn't spectacular. The next match we had was Danny Burke and Oney Lorcan versus Undisputed Era, and I believe this match was presented earlier in the day that it was going to happen, but it wasn't something that was really put out there way ahead. Now, I don't remember what year it was, but Oney Lorcan and Undisputed Era, or Oney Lorcan, Danny Burch, and Undisputed Era had a really good match. I mean, we're talking, in my opinion, a 4 out of 5 match at a TakeOver Chicago a few years ago. This match started off really hard hitting. I mean, punches, kicks. Oney Lorcan hit a blockbuster on the outside, a double blockbuster. Let me put it that way. Outside off the steel steps into the ground. One thing I will say is, British Strong Style, if that's what you want to consider these guys, but British wrestling, they use their heads a lot. Their headbutts look wicked, like absolutely wicked. This match, Undisputed Era ends up getting the win. They hit the high-low. To me, it kind of came out of nowhere. And for me, the post-match was just as good. The Undisputed Era cut a promo about how the Broserweights, as they called the loserweights, were the undeserving team that won. Broserweights came out. Matt Riddle said they're down to give them a rematch. When out of nowhere, the Grizzled Young Veterans come out. The Grizzled Young Vets say they don't care about rematches, and it's out with the old, in with the Grizzled Young Veterans. Overall, I thought this tag match was good. It was 10 to 15 minutes long. I give it 3.25 out of 5. I don't know if I already said that. To me, the ending came out of nowhere. And what was awesome is there wasn't a ton of, finisher, kick out. There wasn't a lot of that. I think I really feel like that takes away from some of the matches in NXT. In terms of Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, those guys have been, I think presented strong. And I think that these guys are also, any tag team that comes up, these guys can take a beating, but they also make it look really good. Like, they make themselves look good. Even though they lose a lot, they're still a prominent tag team. I would say that they're still a very good tag team. The post-match segment was good, which, added a little bit of cloudiness. Grizzled Young Veterans are there. You got Undisputed Era. You got, obviously the Broserweights as the champions. I'm just hoping a few more tag teams come in. Again, Revival, they're going to leave when their contracts are done. It's just what's going to happen. I wish they would come back to the NXT tag division and run wild. And I really wish Broken Matt and Brother Nero could come and and light a match in this division. I think, yes, they're older, but they can be there. A character like that works. You saw how the Broken character worked in Impact. It can work like that in NXT. I truly feel it could, and I know it's run its course in WWE. Shortly ran its course in WWE, but I really do think it could have some legs to stand on in NXT. Alright, so on to the next match. We had Austin Theory versus Isaiah Swerve Scott. There was an issue earlier in the day at like the Performance Center or something like that when, Austin Theory said he's the greatest thing in NXT, blah, blah, blah. Swerve Scott took offense to that, so they wanted to fight. Not a lot to say in this match. It was a very quick match, a lot of strikes and kicks. Both these guys are very, very athletic. Austin Theory ends up getting the win in this, 10 to 15 minutes. I thought it was a 3 out of 5. I think it was a very good match. I think this was the second best match on the show. Both of these guys, people love. Their matches come off clean. I think Isaiah Scott had one match that I didn't like. It was against Dijakovic, but Dijakovic is one of those guys where it's hit or miss. It's either an awesome match or just he doesn't flow right with the guy. And I think that's what happened when he wrestled Scott. But these two guys were great. There was a commercial break as usual during the matches. The best parts of the match were after the commercial break. I think, Austin Theory reminds me a lot of a smaller version of John Cena back in the day. But Austin Theory, like I mentioned before, great champ. I mentioned it when we were talking about his matches with Ciampa. I think he's a guy who can be a big-time guy in NXT. Maybe not so much for the heavyweight belt, because you got a lot of big-time guys there, but eventually people get moved around, moved from show to show. But I think Austin Theory is there to stay. I think Swerve Scott is there. It's just going to be to find out exactly who he is on the card and on the shows that will determine where he's going to be in the future. Next and final match was your main event. It was the second steel cage match of the night. Roderick Strong versus Velveteen Dream. Velveteen Dream competed in jeans tonight, which was interesting. I'm not going to go too much into this match, as obviously the Undisputed Era comes out. And, there's a ton of interference. Marina Shafir actually came out, Roderick Strong's wife. She slipped a kendo stick into the cage. It was right before commercial break. It was one of those things that you can kind of see coming. Obviously, the Undisputed Era never lets matches go without having some interference. Like I said, Roderick Strong picks up the win around the 15-minute mark, but he really didn't win. Adam Cole got in and was getting tossed around the ring. Roderick Strong was getting ready to leave the cage. Dream stopped him, but he turned around and looked at Adam Cole, and then he shoved Strong outside. So he gave Roderick Strong the win. At that point, Velveteen Dream locked the cage, turned around to smile at Adam Cole. Velveteen Dream really, put the boots to Adam Cole. He took Undisputed Era came in, he took him apart. He was hitting Strong, who's back in, and Adam Cole with the kendo stick. Ends up getting everybody down. He picks up the NXT title, and then he hoisted it high up at the top. He was at the top of the cage with the title. Now, the last match between Roderick Strong and Velveteen Dream, I thought just wasn't that great. It was not Velveteen Dream style match. It was more Roderick Strong style of a match. Which it was weird because there was a lot of focus on the fact that Roderick Strong was wearing Calvin Klein's. There was even a Calvin Klein chant. The NXT universe, how they do their chants and things like that. It's good to see Roderick Strong in a little different light, like he's not as like smug and everything, which is good, which is fantastic. What I liked in this match is it kind of got back to the old school Velveteen Dream. His best, for me, his best in general was when he faced Aleister Black. And I feel like a little bit of how it's been the last couple weeks has been a little bit more towards that. Obviously, he looked a little flat in his return, and I get it. He's been going for a while. Obviously, he's not wrestling, you know what I mean? But if we can get that Velveteen Dream, then that's what we want. Now, does this put him, is him holding the title, is that who Adam Cole's challenger is at TakeOver Tampa? I mean, it portrays it like that. Like, you're obviously going to have Ciampa Gargano. Are you going to have Walter Balor? Is that something set up? I mean, it could be. But, if this is who Adam Cole's going to face, I just hope we have the Velveteen Dream of old, who we saw against Aleister Black, and not who he kind of ended up being with the North American Championship, which wasn't that strong. So what stood out match-wise? Obviously, we got the Kai and Tegan Nox cage match, and you have the Strong and Dream cage match. I think that was worth watching. Both those were worth watching. And then, of course, Austin Theory and Swerve Scott. If you like, high-flying wrestling, you're going to like that. Promo-wise, there's some great promos in this. Finn Balor, he made the first move, he said, in his little mental chess matches. But now Walter's forced his hand, and he's not going to like what's going to happen, and that Walter will see him soon. Next, we saw a video package, Rhea Ripley visiting WrestleMania. That's pretty much it in that. Nothing special. And then different times, last week and this week, there were a bunch of images that flashed across the screen, which could be the beginning of Killer Cross, which is going to inject a brand new character into NXT, which I think is awesome. You had a really good promo with Keith Lee coming out, and he was talking about Dijakovic and Damian Priest. And then Cameron Grimes interrupts him, Cameron Grimes beat Dijakovic last week. He brags about the win and how he did it faster than Lee did. And I mean, Lee, obviously is kind of like the god in NXT right now. And you have Cameron Grimes, who he couldn't even get a word out. Every time he would talk, he got booed. Anything he did, he got booed. He was being told nobody liked him and that he's not good and things like that. And he announced that William Regal gave him a title shot next week. Lee gets annoyed by that, shoved him out of the ring, and then he's going to be happy to give him a whooping next week. So I'm looking forward to that. That's one of two matches mentioned for next week. I'm going to do that real quick, then I'm going to jump back to what I think was the best part of the show. Next week, you have the North American Championship match, Keith Lee versus Cameron Grimes. You also have a Tag Team Championship match. It's going to be the rematch, Broserweights versus Undisputed Era. Again, should be a good match. Expect, especially after today, Grizzled Young Veterans to come out and have some type of interference. So lastly, we're going to talk about Mauro Ranallo and Gargano had an interview. It was at the Performance Center. He asked about what he did to Ciampa. Johnny said that immediately he disregards the question and goes, Mauro, who was the only person who showed up to your premiere for your documentary? And Ranallo goes, you. And I appreciate that so much. And, he asks Mauro Ranallo, like, what am I? Like, who am I? Like, what am I to you? And he's like, you're Johnny Wrestling. You're the heart of NXT. And Gargano's like, that's it. Like, whatever. And Ranallo asks, what's with the sneak attack? And Johnny Gargano got angry, and that was the heat that I looked. So remember when it was Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, back and forth. These guys hated each other. It's that kind of intensity. It was more the Ciampa type intensity. Gargano was more the baby face, the guy who was consistently hurt, barely could get in the ring, barely could continue matches, stuff like that. But in this, Gargano had that anger. He had the fight. He had the emotion, and it was absolutely what you need from a guy who technically is the heel at this point. Says he hit Ciampa while he was looking at him wearing a baby blue or a bright blue coat or jacket, sweatshirt, whatever he was wearing. So it's not really a sneak attack. Johnny, again, he says that, Mauro, you don't know what I've been through, what I've seen. And Mauro's like, no, I get it. But the question is that everybody wants to know is just the question, why? At this point, Gargano gets in Mauro's face. He says he knows why. And, he said that he was called Johnny Turncoat. He didn't care about that. He was mad that Mauro hadn't reached out to him since Portland. and how he calls him Johnny Turncoat. Quick to say that, but anytime Ciampa returns and comes out, he shouts, "Daddy's home." Morrow started feeling uncomfortable. He ends up walking off. Johnny comes and grabs the camera, addressing Tommaso Ciampa, and said that he knows why. And next week, things come back to the Performance Center for them. So, interesting, great, emotion, everything was there. Fire was there, emotion was there, anger was there. It was great. To me, best part of the show tonight. Obviously, I mentioned some matches that were really good. One of them, 3.5. 3.5 is great, for a weekly show. Like I said at the beginning, much better show. Catch that promo, catch it on YouTube, catch it on something like that. It was great. That's going to be it for me tonight. Please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at TheCO Place to Go with a follow, questions, comments, anything. Appreciate everyone who reaches out. Make sure you listen to my new segment, Enough is Enough. Like I said, I'll be doing it once every 3 to 4 weeks or more, depending on what makes me mad and makes me come and say that I need to talk about something. But until then, talk to you guys next week.